Hey everybody, I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama, and today we're talking menstrual cups. Hooray! So I've seen an increase in the interest in my local moms groups and just in general about people wanting to know what these are, if they really help, if they're worth it, and how the hell do you wear it. So I wanted to show you what I have personally bought and what I've been using and what's been helping me. The brand is called Pixie Cup, and we'll talk in general about what menstrual cups are, as well as this particular brand. It'll be a G-rated video, but I'll give you all of the tips and the things that I have learned, and I've bought these myself, so this is not like a sponsored review or anything like that. So firstly, why should you use a menstrual cup in the first place? If you're like me, there's lots of reasons. The first reason is it kind of sucks being a woman and having to pay for these extra products. Tampons and pads and all of that stuff, it costs you money. And of course, all of those are one use only. So you use it once and you throw it away. So there's the financial concern. As well, there's the fact that if you are the type of person who is concerned about the environment and you're trying to be conscientious, that's all stuff that's going to the landfill. Obviously, those products, once they're used, they cannot be recycled at all. So there's an increase in actual waste as well. And finally, one thing that was intriguing to me about the menstrual cup in general is that a lot of them, including the Pixie Cup, claim that not only will your cycle lessen in that it won't be as much material, your flow will be lighter, but also that they can help with cramps and with pain. So for me, being someone who has severe endometriosis, I've had surgery for it. It's caused me agony for years. It was definitely worth a try for these. Now, there are different brands that you can find on Amazon or, of course, at different vendors. The Diva Cup is a really popular one. This is the Pixie Cup. There's one that's particularly for people with a very high cervix that I believe the brand is called Luxe. But they're all going to basically be the same thing. So what a menstrual cup does is basically it uses suction and it's inserted. So as far as your body, it's going to be like this. And it catches all of the material, catches everything that comes out, obviously. You don't have to wear a pad or a tampon or a liner or anything else. This catches everything. And then you can wear one of these for at least 3 hours, usually, unless you have a really heavy flow without you having to pull it out and empty it. You can wear it for up to 6 or 12 hours, depending on your flow, before you have to clean it out. Now, the same rule would apply with like toxic shock syndrome as with these, and that you want to make sure that at least every 12 hours you take it out and you clean it. So, okay, that all sounds great in concept, but how exactly does this work? So the way these work is, again, they're going to be catching all of the material for you, and then you'll clean it out and then you'll insert it back in. I've got here some of the wipes that come with each of these Pixie cups that you've got. They each come with some of these. I've also read about other women who use like a little spray bottle, like the kind that you get after you give birth, honestly, and they just keep a little bottle of water, like a little Perry bottle, in their diaper bag or in their purse, and they clean it out. So let me get that out of the way first. That's the only thing that's kind of a setback, where you kind of have to figure out, all right, how the hell am I going to do this when you're in the bathroom? Because essentially you are, you're sitting on the toilet or you're sitting over the toilet. You got to pull this out and dump it out without getting it all over yourself. So that takes a little bit of practice for sure. I feel like inserting these is not that difficult, and I'll give you some tips here in a second about that. But the downfall is you kind of have to balance how you're going to clean it. If I'm at home, my toilet and my sink are right next to each other. So I dump it out as best I can and clean it as best I can, and then it just goes straight into the sink. You don't have to necessarily wash it with soap if you're about ready to reapply it. Of course, once your cycle is done, you want to wash it in the sink with hot water and soap and then let it air dry before the next month. And Pixie Cup, as well as all of the other brands, they'll give you a cute little bag that you can store it in between cycles. So that's the only thing that you kind of have to really juggle. If I'm in public, I keep a couple of these in my purse. I wipe it as best I can in the restroom and then throw these away. Or if you don't want to do that, if you have water in with you, just rinse it, hanging over the toilet, rinse it so that the water falls into the toilet, and then you can reinsert it. Okay, so let's talk about how you insert these things and what's going on internally. Now, all of the brands that you're going to buy will come with different little instructions and different modes to show you. See, there's the different positions of how it's going to sit. There's the cup. But let me show you essentially what happens. Now you'll notice I have two different ones here, and that's because there are different sizes, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So the way I insert it that I found was easiest for me is the only thing that's really awkward about this, if you've put on, if you've worn tampons before, the only thing that's awkward is obviously it can't fit like this in your body. And if you notice, these have a little hole here and a little hole here, and this is to help the suction. Because obviously if you're wearing this, but fluid can still get around the sides, then you're still going to leak and you're going to get stains in your underwear and things like that. So it wants to make sure that there's actually a seal. And sometimes you'll hear it actually make a little sucking sound, a little, and then you know it's in place. So to insert it, I fold it like that. Now, these are the two sizes. Right? Here's the bigger one and here's the little one. And like I said, we'll talk about that in just a second. So I actually bought the big one first because I've had two kids with vaginal birth. So I figured I needed the bigger one. I actually have been using this one for 3 months, and I'm going to use this one with my next cycle to see if it makes a difference. I feel like this one is a little awkward for me to insert, and I feel like it's just a little bit too much material. So you can see my full review of menstrual cups and of the Pixie Cup on realsimplemama.com, and I'll update the article once I've used this one for a few months to see if I feel like there's a difference. So essentially what you do when you're inserting it is you're going to hold it like this. And the key is obviously that you have to get it going up into the cervix, but you don't want to hit your pelvic bone because then you'll feel, there'll be some resistance there. So it's just a matter of holding it, keeping it folded like this, and then letting suction and honestly just your pelvic floor muscles kind of just take it up. When it's time to pull it out, and this is the part that was a little bit terrifying. A tampon's easy because it's got a string that hangs out externally, right? This is still internal. None of this hangs out of your body. If it's hanging out of your body, it's too big and it needs to be adjusted. So one thing that I think is really great about this brand, honestly, is see for the large cup, there's this flat piece, but it has ridges in it. For the smaller one, it's more of like a little cylinder, but it also has the texturing on it, because what you're going to have to do is go inside your vagina a little bit and grab it. Now, I'll tell you, I have nails actually, and forgive me, I know they look like a total disaster right now. I didn't think about that before I started this video, but normally my nails are actually a little bit longer than this. And the only problem that I had with this is that I actually like pinched myself when I was trying to grab this thing. So you want to be careful. Now, I have not tried it not using any nails, like just using the flesh of my fingerprints. But I think that the fact that it has this texture on it is very much like oh, thank God, because that's got to be a terrifying feeling for you to, it's like, okay, I'm in the bathroom, I need to clean this out, I want to see how much it's caught, and I need to clean up and whatever, and then you can't pull it out. So I haven't had that happen because of these ridges. If your cervix is particularly short and you feel like, okay, this is sticking out or this is just too much, of course you can cut it. But just remember, once you cut it, you can never add that material back on. So you don't want to cut it all the way up to here because then you'd have nothing to grab. So just keep that in mind. Again, I have not tried this smaller one. It's still got the ridges, but that's going to be, oops. So don't pull it too hard like I just did. But you want to be careful that you've just got something that you can grab to pull it back out. Of course, once you pull it back out, you're balancing a cup that's potentially full of your menstrual fluid. So you want to be careful and not just yank it out, because you don't want, can you imagine being at work or like in between classes and like you make a gigantic mess. So just be careful. Play around with it a little bit. All right, now let's talk about sizes. Now, I looked into the Diva Cup because that's, in my opinion, online, that's like the most famous one, but it's also more expensive. The reason that I picked Pixie Cup is because it's a couple of bucks cheaper on Amazon, and also because for each one that you buy, they donate one to a woman in need. I felt like it would be something bigger than me just trying to save the planet and me trying to save a couple bucks for myself, but it's also, hey, I'm helping out another woman. So like, woohoo, fist bump for that. So the way the different sizes work, most brands have two different sizes. And here's where it gets a little bit different if you're looking at a menstrual cup, is you need to see how do they define the two different sizes. Diva Cup says one is for before you have kids and one is for after you have kids. Okay. That to me was kind of like, all right. Because again, me getting a little personal here, I have severe endometriosis, so I have an extreme amount of pain. And my cycles, my month is about 25 or 27 days. Yippee. So that kind of sucks. But as far as my flow, even though I've had 2 kids with vaginal birth, as far as my flow, like it's never really that heavy. So I kind of was torn on, well, should I buy the bigger one or not? Pixie Cup, if I remember. Actually, yeah, let me look at the boxes here. So the smaller one, this is the Pixie Cup Luxe. And so this is the blue one, the one I haven't tried yet. But it doesn't have anything to do with if you've had kids or not. It just has to do with, hey, do you have light to normal flow? And then this one is for normal to heavy. So it's totally up to you if you would rather deal with, having a cup that may be a little bit uncomfortable because it might be a little bit too big, which is what I think is going on with me. Or this might be better for you if you know that you have a heavy flow, if you know that it's probably going to be 4 to 6 hours in between you being able to change it and check it. If you've had a lot of kids, then this may be the safe bet for you. For me, each of these are, I'll put the price down here when I do the editing on the video, but I know they were less than $15. I think they were between 12 and 14. And so for me, for less than 25 bucks, not only did I end up getting, I bought this one first and a few months later I bought this one, but now I know that 2 of them have been donated because of me. So that's kind of nice to know. But as you see, and the dimensions are all on like Pixie Cup's website, there's not a huge difference in length if we're looking at them this way. As far as this directional, it's pretty much the same. Here you can see there's a little bit of a difference. And then again, the dimensions are all online as far as how much material they hold. Notice again, they're both the same basic shape. They have the lip here to help with the suction. And then these holes as well help with the suction. So let's talk about my experience. Again, figuring out how am I going to clean this thing and wash this thing. You'll notice also this one's been used for 3 months and it doesn't stain at all. So as long as you clean it fairly promptly and don't let it, this is gross, but don't let it like sit and dry out like all crusty. But I think as long as you clean it fairly promptly, you're going to be good to go. If you have to carry it in your purse, like, oh crap, like I need to take this out, and for whatever reason you're not putting it back in, but you're not home, put it in, make sure you rinse it really well, dry it with a towel as best you can, and put it in the bag, and maybe just don't close the bag all the way. This is like a silky material, it's not just pure cotton, so it may not aerate too terribly well. You just don't want anything growing on this because that's just gross. As far as cleaning these little suction holes, I did find that if I'm not careful, some dried material can get there. So here's my little hack for that. I take a Q-tip, but the cotton part of the Q-tip won't go through, so I cut one in half and I use, this is hard plastic, I use that, and that'll poke through, and then you can clean that. So from my experience, I really, really, really like using these so far. Now again, for somebody with severe endometriosis, I don't know how much they're going to advertise that it helps with pain. My flow is really light already, so I haven't seen a difference in that. I think maybe I've seen a slight drop in pain. My experience, my cramps are really bad the day before my cycle starts and the first day of my cycle. And I feel like they've been lessened a little bit and they've maybe shortened by about half a day. But that's not something to where I confidently can say it's because of this. So I'm not sure. I will say for money saving and for sanitary reasons, I love using a Pixie Cup. I really like it. If you're like me, you're very conscientious when you're on your cycle. I'm a teacher by trade, and so I was always worried about, if anybody can tell or if anybody can, this sounds awful, but like if anybody can smell or notice a difference when you're wearing pads and tampons. With this, there is absolutely no smell at all because, of course, everything's still up inside you with suction. So that's really good to know. You will smell it, of course. You'll smell the menstrual material when you go to clean it out and change it, but that's going to happen every time you go to the bathroom anyway. So I really feel like for just being discreet and just feeling clean, this is a lot better. The only problem is going to be that when you're first getting used to using it, or if your cycle has started and then you're putting a menstrual cup in, there may be some of the menstrual fluid that's already down past your cervix, if that makes sense. Like the menstrual cup is up here and you've got fluid down here that's just going to come out. So I suggest the first month probably that you're using one, just use a real light, thin panty liner. You don't have to have anything thick like a pad because this is going to catch the majority. Just so that you don't have any of that annoying spotting. You know what I'm talking about, where it's just bad enough that it's like, ugh, I ruined like another pair of panties. So just a really thin panty liner, or, and this is going to talk about one of my other articles and videos that's coming up. This is a reusable pad like a panty liner, that I'm going to start using that too. And I know that sounds like, oh Lord, that's even grosser, but I promise this is a great idea. These are from Etsy, from a shop that I love and I buy from whenever I need anything. She is Mama Bear baby wear. She has baby wipes and things like this, but this is her other little side of her shop that's called Mama Bear Lady Wear, and she makes all different kinds of, some of them have wings and they snap and things like that. So just to catch any material that may have, that may have come down before you inserted your cup. But other than that, I think it's been a great experience. I'm really, really happy with it. Again, my major reason for using these was not necessarily because I felt that it was going to decrease my pain or decrease my flow. I've got severe endometriosis going on. I have endometrial cells inside my body all over the place. So I know something like this is not going to kill all of that and cut all of that out. But just feeling like it's really comfortable, like it's doing its job, right? Because that's the point. And knowing that I'm saving money and I'm saving the environment. These can be worn if you've got one that fits correctly, and I've tested it. You can wear it when you're swimming, when you're working out. I've got a friend who was asking about menstrual cups, and she was like, but I do like weightlifting and stuff. Like I'm afraid, I don't want to be doing squats and like this thing pops out. If it fits you correctly, and you might want to like play around at home and do some stuff and kind of test it and make sure it's not going to move. But if it fits you properly and you've put it in properly, you can lay down and sleep. You can swim. You can do anything you could possibly think of, obviously, except have intercourse is the only thing you don't want to do. But I think as long as you keep this clean, you have the right size. Menstrual cups are a great, great, great idea. And so hopefully this has kind of made you go, if nothing else, and be willing to consider it. For me, never having to buy those paper goods again, never having to worry about like that nasty, gross stuff in my trash can and it going to the landfill. And I think for the average woman, there is definitely the potential for your flow to be decreased and for potentially for your pain to be decreased. Who knows? So that's my thoughts on the Pixie Cup. I'm very, very, very happy. I will update my review on realsimplemama.com after I've tried this smaller size for a few months. But again, let me know in the comments if you are trying one, what your thoughts are. If you have any questions, again, this is the Pixie Cup, and they've got all their stats and sizes and measurements and all of that stuff. You can see their website as well as their listing on Amazon. So I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. Again, find the real review, the full review with pictures and everything on my website. And thanks for watching, guys.